So for our next talk, we are happy to have Matthias Altmann from the IT Security Stammtisch in Kassel. And he's going to talk about the malicious code injection technique via the DOM clobbering application attack. And Matthias is currently a software developer and IT security expert at Micromata GmbH, specializing in application security. As part of his work, he's also co-founder and organizer of the IT Security Meetup Kassel, which I highly recommend checking out and visiting. Apart from that, Matthias also likes to share his expertise at conferences, technical discussions, and occasionally on his blog. Matthias, are you ready to talk?
No, share. So can you see it?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, I would begin. So this is should be a short talk, but if it takes too long, then I'll cut some stuff. Yeah, we talk about boom. We talk about malicious code injection via DOM clobbering, a technique which we'll see is using some quirks in the DOM to manipulate it. Yeah, I really appreciate it to be here at your meetup. Yeah, what will I show now in the next few minutes? I will show you a little bit of introduction to this topic, some demos, and how you can mitigate DOM clobbering. Yeah, about me, you said a lot of stuff, so I think I can skip here. Yeah, I'm an enthusiast in IT security. I love it. Yeah, we have our own meetup here in Kassel, and everybody is really we're looking forward for everybody joining us. Like you, open community, yeah. And then I would start with a question, so you can open this with your smartphone, like Dan did. Yeah, and I will open this here. So, did you hear about DOM clobbering, or do you have knowledge of XSS, or is this completely new to you?
Can you show this again? Yes, so people can actually scan it.
Or if Dan could post the link into the chat, this would be, and the other could use the chat, link from the chat room. So now I would switch now to the results and wait a little bit and refresh the page. Yeah, results, nice. So the most people have a little bit of knowledge in the field of application security, I would guess, from this results. So yeah, and I would continue on this basis. So we will use this script here as the root. If you look at it some seconds, you will see some stuff happening here, and I'll explain it. What is done here? What was the initial motivation to code this, and how it could be compromised at the end? Yeah. The first row is the function is called when everything is loaded. And in the second row, you see that an object is initialized. And this object is initialized so with an OR operator. Here's an OR operator used. So it will definitely not be definitely be initialized with stuff either with an empty object or with an object living at the window, at the window object scope. And if you know the DOM window is what represents the browser, so it's a global variable at this point. And yeah, then the next 3 lines use this object and create a script tag, which then was appended to the body of the HTML page, so the script will be loaded. And the intention, probably the intention of the developer at this point was to load dynamically a script and is using a variable, an object here, and the property URL from this object. And what you should have a focus on, it uses a global variable. So here a little bit displayed, a little bit easier. You have some object which is initialized with a variable, with a property, for example, http example.com, and then the object is initialized here in some object. And the script is insert, so it will be loaded from the object. So first, I will show an example. So we have a page here, and what you can see is this script, what you saw. And here at this line, you see, okay, it's initialized with http example.com. And at the end, when the page was loaded, the script is inserted here, the script tag, and the http example.com is loaded into the page. Now to the dark side. So before we begin with DOM clobbering, we need some background knowledge for this. We start with the HTML collections. Does anybody know what HTML collections are? So HTML collections is an array-like structure which you can use to iterate over. And I'll show you here an example. So if you have, for example, here a p tag with some text in it, you get all the tags, the p tags, and store it in elements, in the variable elements. And then you get one item from this array-like structure, which has the ID notify and log it out. So if you look at the console, you see, okay, this tag was fetched from the structure and logged out into the console here. So next one, if you look here into the code, what you can do is also not using by a name. You can also use an index structure, the brackets here, and 0, which gets the first member of this array-like structure. And if you look at the console, it's the same. So it's both ways are possible to get to this data. So, and then now a little bit of history to the DOM. In the first days of the DOM, everything was fetched using the name. So we had a tag and a name, and then we had document all something. And if you have a tag with a name something in it, you could get the data from it, from the HTML file. So next example. If you look at it, this works today still in Chrome. You can say, okay, document get elements by class name. In this example, div class test. Test is fetched from here, from this div. And if you say dot bar, so the name here, you have two divs here, this one, and both are inside this array-like structure. The one with the name bar is returned. So if you go to the console, you see test class, div class test, name bar is returned. Yeah. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to disturb me. Yeah, I try to explain it step by step. So then we have the HTML specs, so which you can find here from what we WWG. which say here in the object point, if object has only one element, return that element. Otherwise, return an HTML collection rooted Windows associated document whose filter matches only named objects of window with the name. A little bit complicated, saying, okay, if you put in multiple objects, multiple elements, if you could inject multiple elements, or if you say it in another way, with the same ID, you can create an HTML collection on this page. So example 5, we have here an alert box. How did it come to this alert box? We have two anchor tags here, 1 and 2, with the same ID. And if we use this, we create an HTML collection. And we can now get to the HTML collection using this notation. X dot Y and then member 0, and it will return the first one. So perhaps you'll see where this will go to already a little bit. So back to our example. If we have this code snippet and we have Windows some object, so the original intention was to use the own object which was defined on the global scope. But if we now use our knowledge about HTML collections and how you can inject it, we can see it in another way. So we can see it in like, oh, this is an HTML collection. And this is defined by the name some object. So we will try to create an HTML collection with proper names to access this member, to overwrite, and this is the important thing here, to overwrite the original structure of the HTML page. So this where the name clobbering comes from. So we are clobbering the stuff inside. And we use the anchor tag to overwrite the global variable at this point. So this is our payload. We use two anchor tags, like we saw, creating an HTML collection. We use the stuff which we know about the history of DOM, the name attribute, which gives the URL. Here, back to our code, some object URL. We say href, a malicious website.com evil.js. Yeah. And then we have an attack. And if we look at it, if we could inject this stuff here, say we have an HTML, we have a form where we can insert HTML, XSS is protected, everything is protected, but the anchor tag is whitelisted and the name tag is whitelisted. Yeah, at the end, what we have here, if we see at this stuff, we have not the, we have the malicious website.evil.com loaded at the end of the HTML page. But there remains a question. Why does some object.url delivers href here? Why is in this point, why does the href, which we set here, stored inside source here? Does anybody know? This is really deep DOM knowledge. Yeah, because the interface which is implementing the stuff, the anchor element toString returns always the href value. So at this point, the flow is okay. It is identified using URL, and the value what is returned is this one here at this attribute. So now I try to get to an example from Potswiger. What I really can recommend, there's a web security academy with a lot of labs for free, and you can try it and you can read about it. For example, DOM clobbering is an introduction to it, and you have labs which you can play with around. And yeah, and then access the lab. that's always to create a new container. Then we go few posts. We'll enter here the payload and say some stuff here, name, email, I don't know, post command. Go back to the block and there's some random stuff here. Simple block. Go back to the block and should have, yeah, our injection, our XSS has fired. Yeah, and we can now look, why does this happen? This is, you have to go inside the code of it. You have to look it up. Here, where is the stuff? Sources, resources. I think lab header, JS, or here, no, here, JS, okay, yeah. And if you go here and look for avatar, or in dump purify, pretty print, no, this is here, avatar. Yeah, you see exactly this pattern here with a global variable and an OR, and this is the way how it was overwritten. So we use this code structure to inject, to overwrite first the stuff, and at the end get JavaScript executed and have our XSS payload fired. Yeah, let's see if I can go back. No. So I'll do it like this. Yeah. And again, other possibilities we have. We can override attributes. This is also possible. If the logic uses attributes, for example, if we have a form, and the form says, okay, before I'll go further, I'll check all the attributes of this page. So prepared some examples. So we have this code here, this HTML and this JavaScript code. The variable fetches the ID example form here, which is logged out. So what you can see here is that this form is fetched, and all the attributes which are here are printed out. In this instance, this is ID equals example form. So if you go to the console, you will see this here. What we want to do, if we look at the JavaScript code, if attributes are went through, for example, in a loop, checking for JavaScript, malicious JavaScript, or some stuff in the attributes which could be executed and then thrown away, we can override it. So this is the same, but here we have just added this one, ID attributes. And with all our knowledge, what we heard so far, example form is fetched, but attributes, the variable in here, the property inside, is overwritten with nothing, and the length is undefined. And if we have a loop which is normally using a specific length, and it gets a length of undefined, it will skip it, and all the stuff which would normally thrown away is now inside, and we could inject the stuff. This is the second example in Portswigger. If you go to the labs, yeah. And how to prevent it? Yeah, this is yeah, the one possibility is to check if the objects and functions are legitimate, if they are correctly used in the proper way. If you code, try to not use bad code patterns like using global variable, especially in combination with a logical OR, and use well-tested libraries like DOM purifier, which is here as an example put into from Portswigger. Yeah. At the end, I showed you the introduction to DOM clobbering. some demos and the mitigation. Here are some resources, the Podswigger link and Stack Overflow. This Stack Overflow link I put into myself because I couldn't understand it. And yeah, there were really nice answers from a lot of people, which I really appreciate. Yeah, and thanks for listening. And I hope you'll see in the next meetup from us, where Henning will talk about Monero. Will be at the 15th of September, 6 p.m., like half an hour earlier. Yeah, and you can find everything at the meetup page. Thank you.